We think we have freedom in choosing our partners. We believe our tastes, our choices, even the people we're drawn to, are reflections of who we are today. But what if I told you that much of how we experience love, the way we communicate, the fears we have, even the boundaries we draw may have been shaped long before our first date? Today, we're diving deep into how our childhood experiences shape our adult relationships and, more importantly, how we can heal from it. Let's start with a moment of reflection. Think about your current or past relationships, the ways you connect, the conflicts you face, the comforts and anxieties you carry. Now, ask yourself, have you ever noticed patterns, behaviors that seem familiar, almost as if they echo something from your past? For many of us, the dynamics we experienced in our families, whether they were warm, chaotic, supportive, or distant, continue to color how we engage with others today. This isn't to say that our childhoods lock us into fixed roles or that we're merely repeating history, but understanding this connection gives us a roadmap to growth. By recognizing these patterns, we open the door to a freer, more intentional way of relating to those we care about. Let's consider attachment styles, for example. Psychologists often refer to attachment as our emotional blueprint. It's formed in our earliest years based on how our caregivers responded to us. Did we feel secure, comforted, and loved unconditionally? Or were love and affection things we had to earn by pleasing others, by being good? When we experienced unconditional love, we often grow up with a sense of inner stability. We're more likely to seek out healthy connections, as we trust that others can be reliable sources of support. But for those who learned that love was conditional, relationships might feel precarious. We might worry about being abandoned, or on the flip side, feel uncomfortable with intimacy. These attachment patterns don't define us, but they give us clues. And understanding this can help us make better choices. Maybe you've had relationships where you felt you had to prove yourself, where you were constantly questioning your worth, or perhaps you've kept others at a distance to protect yourself. Acknowledging these dynamics is the first step toward healing and change. Next, let's talk about the subtle messages we picked up about emotions as kids. Were emotions welcomed in your family, or were they kept in the shadows, something to be managed quietly? If we grew up in an environment where expressing feelings was seen as a weakness or as something that brought discomfort, we may unconsciously carry this into our adult relationships. We might find it hard to talk about our own needs, fearing that they'll be dismissed, or we may hesitate to be vulnerable, thinking that showing too much will drive others away. But here's where the healing begins, by recognizing that these responses were learned for survival, not necessarily because they serve us today. Healing doesn't mean we erase our pasts, but rather that we understand them. We can begin to experiment with sharing more openly, gently challenging our fears, and testing out vulnerability in safe settings. Another powerful force from childhood is the way we handle conflict. Maybe arguments in your family were loud and explosive, or perhaps they were avoided altogether, with silence hanging in the air like a storm that never breaks. These early models of conflict resolution become part of our relational DNA. So, what happens when we bring these old approaches into our adult lives? Some of us might default to avoidance, afraid that disagreements will lead to rejection or loss. Others might approach conflict with intensity, feeling that strong reactions are the only way to be heard. Realizing that these responses come from past survival strategies can give us the freedom to choose differently. We can learn to see conflict as a natural part of relationships, a chance to communicate our needs and learn about each other, rather than something to fear. Here's the good news. Our childhoods may have shaped us, but they don't define us. Recognizing the patterns we carry is the beginning of rewriting our relational scripts. So, how do we start? One of the most transformative things we can do is to build self-compassion. Often, we're hard on ourselves, thinking we should be different, stronger, or less affected by the past. But just as we would with a friend, we can extend understanding to ourselves. We are a product of everything we've experienced, and that includes both beautiful and painful moments. Another essential step in healing is cultivating awareness in our relationships. Let's say you notice yourself feeling anxious about your partner's commitment or pulling away when things get serious. Instead of judging yourself, get curious. Ask, where might this come from? What is it trying to protect me from? When we bring curiosity to our reactions, we create a space where change is possible. You may also find it helpful to engage in practices that bring you into the present moment. Grounding exercises, mindfulness, or simply spending time with people who make you feel safe can help you create new, healthier patterns. Healing is gradual, and it's okay to take small steps toward building a more conscious relationship with yourself and others. Finally, remember that the journey of healing is one of growth, not perfection. Relationships are messy, and it's normal to encounter challenges along the way. The gift of understanding how our childhood shapes our relationships is that it empowers us to make choices with intention. We can rewrite our stories, not by erasing the past, but by learning to engage with it thoughtfully. So, here's to honoring the journey, the one that started in our childhood, shaped us, and is now ours to direct with courage and compassion. Thank you for joining me today on this exploration of love, healing, and self-discovery. Remember, understanding yourself is the first step to transforming your relationships. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit from a bit of insight into their own journey. And let's keep the conversation going. What insights have you discovered about your own patterns in relationships?